Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's live coding event here from Fermion. Um, as you probably noticed, we don't have Sohan here today. Sohan is traveling, which means that I have now taken on the role as a host. So if there are technical hiccups along the way, I will have to be excused, since this is my first time. And today I brought Rado here, and as you probably noticed, we're actually in the same room. So this is gonna add to the level of technical challenges in terms of controlling audio, but we will definitely do our best to make this all work. But thanks everyone for joining today. And as you may know, we have started the Advent of Spin last week, which is sort of the December coding challenge that we are doing to give you fun ways of playing around with Spin, and hopefully learn you some new features and learn you some new things with Spin. So last week, sorry, we did reveal the first challenge of Advent of Spin, and today we will both reveal the second challenge. And I will also challenge Radu very specifically in solving our first challenge. So hopefully you'll get to learn some. Yeah, I don't know if he actually did it over the weekend or not. Or maybe you'll see him have to deal with this one live. That will also just be a lot of fun. Make sure to use the chat as you go along. And thank you, David. Thank you, Bunny, for joining us already. It's great to have you guys here. And thanks. Yeah, my audio is good today. I'm on a different setup because I'm traveling, so that's nice.
We're trying to figure out if my audio is reasonable or whether I should unmute my microphone. We'll see along the way if that works out well.
Yeah. So Radu just did a little bit of an audio check here. Please let us know in chat if his audio is coming through well, or if we need
Like a whisper.
yeah, Radu's like a whisper. I'll do the mute and you can unmute while you're talking, then we'll probably figure that out. Okay, so I'm gonna try this new feature. So there you go. Let's head it into the Advent of Spin 2023 and do the challenge to reveal. So Radu, over to you. I think I prepared a pull request, and I think the first step is you probably wanna go and merge that in here.
Okay, so unmuted. So if you hear weird things, let me know. So we're in the Advent of Spin repo, and I hear that we're supposed to review challenge 2 and merge it. Is that the goal? Okay, so a bunch of commits and merge commits. I might ask you to squash them into a single one. Is that in scope for the stream, Mikkel?
Well, you have to decide that.
Okay, challenge 2. This is the first time I'm going through this, by the way. So second challenge, more of an optimization challenge where you get to apply your computer science skills. We were joking earlier that if this ends up looking like a whiteboard interview kind of challenge, I don't want to be the one solving it for next week. So if anyone wants to volunteer to do it next week, that'll be good. So challenge number 2, you need Spin, your favorite programming language, serving JSON from an API. I think net API. Start a review while we're perfect introduction. Okay, this year the stakes are higher and the challenge is more challenging. The Fermion elves have decided to help Santa use serverless WebAssembly for Santa's new web application. Your task is to help the elves get the project up and running before Christmas Eve. The elves will hang out in the Discord server and can help answer questions along the way. So we're the elves. Good to know. This time around, the elves need to help Santa prepare for his travel around the world with all his presents. Now, we're all used to seeing Santa taking off in his sleigh with a huge sack of presents, but we all know that it's absolutely impossible for all the presents to be handed out to children around the world can fit in one load. So in reality, Santa obviously has to make multiple trips. Santa has to make triple trips.
I think I'm just gonna start my editor right now
Yeah.
and start fixing these as you go along.
Good. But it's time consuming, and the elves really want to help optimize the number of kids Santa can reach on each trip. Travel time is not an issue. So the main thing to consider is how do elves load the sleigh, optimizing for the number of kids to reach, given the combined weight of presents to a single house and the sleigh capacity. Okay, you can write your application in any language that compiles to WebAssembly. To skip any boilerplate, you can use SpinNew. And the elves would use the application by calling the root. Okay, that sounds good. The body of the post call to / will contain a JSON object that has this schema, and then capacity is the weight that the sleigh can carry, excluding Santa. Is that a side quest to figure out how much Santa weighs, or is that not something that we want to get into? When posting, the elves expect an HTTP status, code to 100 returned with a body detailing how many kids can be reached given the dataset provided. Okay. Also, the header and response should contain application JSON. And then, as usual, with advent of Spin, we use Hurl to test our endpoints. Okay. Once the application is deployed, we still will use Hurl again after a submission. Okay. No Wilderness code alone. Cool. That sounds good to me. Looks good to me. With a few comments. Okay. I think we've done the first part, which is review challenge 2 and almost merge it.
I'm very busy trying to fix your comments right now. So just give me a second.
Okay. So while I had a look at the first challenge a little bit, this one is way more computer science-y and algorithmic than the first one. What was the reasoning behind that? What's the mix for the upcoming challenges then? Or is that not decided yet?
The upcoming, well, it's not totally decided yet. There are a few. So I'm just going to mute you. There are a few thoughts in the pipeline. Some of them may or may not depend on upcoming features for Spin as well. Yeah, okay. So that's going to be exciting.
If people are interested in suggesting challenges, is that something they can do in Discord?
You almost make it sound like you're coming up with a proposal here and not asking a question. Well, I mean, if anyone wants to challenge, like we can definitely do side challenges and add them in there. So I think that's actually a pretty cool idea. If somebody wants to come up with a challenge, feel free to do that. It's actually quite fun, even implementing the backend that does the validation. So yeah, feel free to do that. I merge conflicts and things. I don't think we want to spend a whole bunch of time getting these things done here. I'm just going to merge the PR as it, then we'll go back and fix that after live stream, because it's all too stressful with dealing with the streaming system and being the host and all of that.
Feel free to merge.
Okay, I'll go ahead and merge that right now. Okay, you can merge it, even taking some. Okay, so this actually means that Channels 2 is now live. Backend is all ready for you to go and start diving into how you want to solve that. But what we want to do here is actually go back and look at the challenge 1 that we presented last week, which, by the way, you are still able to go and solve these. The backend to confirm whether you solved the challenge correctly or not is still up. We still also have the form up, so that when maybe you want to go, if you can go to the README and the root of the repo, Rado, and show that, because Karen, who's head of our community, has actually come up with some extremely cool prizes that you get for solving these challenges. So make sure not only to solve the challenge and submit to our backend, but also go and fill out a form. There's a little form linked here in the README file. So we can, giving us the shipping addresses, and we'll be able to ship these prizes to you when you solve them. So last week, the first challenge was the Spin Venom tote bag that you can get for solving that. It's fine if you still like solve them beyond today. There are some logistics around end of the month to get these shipped, so there's still time to solve challenge 1. But for challenge 2 here, you're actually able to get a 50's Field Guide to Wasm Trail Map puzzle set. For those of you who don't know the backstory around this, Karen and Matt from Fermion has been writing a book recently that is called 50's. Is it called 50's Field? I actually think it should be in here somewhere in the room. 50's Field Guide to Wasm, which looks like this. And if anybody's familiar with the illustrated guide to Kubernetes or the children's illustrated guide to Kubernetes, this is sort of a follow-up that introduces a new character to the story, which is right here, which is Blossom the Wasm Possum. So there's even a puzzle set now as part of this whole universe that you can get if you solve challenge number 2. The prize for challenge 2 is the puzzle. Yes, correct, Matt. Calling that out in chat. Okay, so Radu, I want to hand this over to you, and I will let you walk us through how you're going to solve challenge. Which challenge are you going to look at?
1. I'm gonna solve challenge 1. I decided that challenge 2 is too stressful to solve in a live stream right now, so we'll keep that for next week. And so we're gonna solve challenge 1. Sorry, challenge 1. Okay. Are we ready to go challenge 1? Cool. Okay. So for challenge 1. This challenge, the goal is to introduce us to Spin using key value store, serving static content, and deploying the application to Fermion Cloud or somewhere else publicly available. So the goal, okay, let's go through the spec and then we'll get started as we go along. So you can write your application in any language that compiles to WebAssembly. I think I'm going to choose JavaScript just because it's the one language that I've been writing most of my Spin applications in lately. To skip any boilerplate, use SpinU and use one of our language templates. That's the plan. Okay, so the application must have a front end hosted on index.html. So it needs to serve a static file. The elf will check if an index.html file exists in the root of my app and will take a screenshot. Okay, Santa likes pretty things, especially pictures of animals, landscapes, or anything that has the Christmas spirit. Okay, and then the second part is there's a /data endpoint that we have to figure out. Okay, let's go through the first challenge, which is server an index.html file. Okay, cool. I have Spin configured. I'm somewhat on the edge, and I have 2.1.0 pre version that I built from source. You can install Spin using the instructions in the Spin documentation website. In the quick start, I already have that, so I'm just going to do a Spin new, and I'm going to call it Advent of Spin Challenge 1. Spin new. Oh, each segment of the name must start with a letter. Challenge 1. There you go.
Can you? So this is a good one. I want to call this one out, Radu, because this was a Spin 2.0 thing that started happening for people who had apps going before Spin 2.0. Now, why is this now a thing? What is the constraint?
This is going to be very hand wavy, but there are restrictions around component model the naming around component model objects that have this restriction. And so we wanted to make sure that when you're going to bring in real components and when we're going to bring components from the registry, that you don't hit into incompatibilities because of the naming. And so this one is a very, very mild breaking change. So all you have to do is make sure each segment from your name starts with a letter instead of a number. So let's see, how do we know we have we know we have an application, and this application will have two components. It needs to have a static file server so we can serve the index.html file, and then an API that needs to do some logic. So there are clearly two components here. I'm trying to figure out if we should create an empty app and then add components as we go, or start with, let's do an HTTP empty app. Our application solving advent of spin.
I'm just going to break in here again. Why the empty app, and why would you want to use that here?
So this relates to how we want to structure application. So in the spec, it says that we will have an application with two components. And what I like to do is have a spin.toml manifest at the root of my repo, and then have each individual component in its own directory. And then that's my personal preference. I could have started with, instead of choosing an empty application and then adding components, I could have started with just one. But that's how I like to start new applications, and I like to structure them. So it's purely preference here. Okay. So this created a directory for me, and it created spin.toml and then a gitignore file. So this is what the spin new process created. So it created Advent of Spin Challenge 1 version, authors, and description, and nothing else. There are no components in my application as of right now. So what this tells us is we'll have a file that we need to serve. So in Spin, we have a component called the static file server, which basically serves static files from an asset directory. So we'll add this to our application, and let's just call it file server. It needs to serve files from a given directory. So let's just go with website, I guess, as a directory name. Ooh, it already is a direct. Entered in HTTP. Oh, this is the HTTP path. Slash. Directory containing the assets, website. And so what this created is our file server component with the setting that I just said for the source of the static files being the website directory mapped into the root of our component, and then the root, which is every single file, every single request to this component will be sent to the file server component. And so the goal here being to serve the /index.html request to be mapped to a file that will exist as /index.html. So what we need to do is create the website directory. And at this point, I think we can just create an index.html file. And this is, I don't have Copilot, so I'll have to write an entire HTML file from scratch. This is going to be tedious. Let's see. HTML. Okay. What else? Head. Okay. Title. Welcome to Advent of Spin Challenge 1. And then let's see on the right HTML syntax. Hello, Advent of Spin. H1. Oh, this is supposed to be body. Body. Okay. Let's try to spin up this application. That's already in use. Listen. Okay. Ooh, this is, I think, the right syntax. So what else do we have to do in this challenge? So the else will check if the file exists. The file does exist, and we'll take a screenshot for Santa. Pictures of animals, landscapes, or anything that has the Christmas spirit. Okay, so we need to add image source equals you need to find a Christmas image, right?
I was just looking through some of the previous submissions. There are some really good ones there. I'll line them up and show a little bit later while Rado is like. Did you just make a remote reference to that one, or did you actually include it in your file server?
Oh, what? Sorry.
The image?
Yes. This is it said that Santa likes anything Christmas related. And so I think this is Christmas related, isn't it? Okay. So this should be challenge the first part of the challenge. How do I test this? Test. You can use hurls. With hurl test.hurl. Okay, and then there's a file called test.hurl. Ooh, part 1. Okay, so let's add test.hurl. Okay, and to run this, we need to hurl test. Okay. So what I'm hoping to see is, it's trying both parts at the same time. So it's not going to succeed until both parts are implemented, right?
I think the individual tests should actually, but you're serving on 3001. Are you testing against 3001?
That's probably part of the problem. Yep, you're right. 3001, and then 3001. Oh,
I think you can see if you scroll up that the first test is actually succeeding.
Yeah, no, I'm not actually running the app anymore, which might be part of the problem. Yeah, I think it needs both parts of the challenge to be implemented. So, assuming, this is we have the index.html file, everything should be. Oh, yep. Okay. Let's go to the second part of this. So, for the second part, the application also has to help Santa and the elves remember what presents to hand out. So the application needs to be able to store Matt, who's head elf at Fermion, his top 3 wishes. You have to implement an endpoint at /data. The endpoint must support 2 HTTP methods, a post and a get. The elves will call /data using the advent key. And I assume that needs to store a JSON object. And then when posting, they expect it to a 1. And then they will call it again with a get method, and they expect to get the result, get the value they just created. Okay, this time they expect it to 100 with a body like this. Okay, and then a header. Okay, so this looks like what we need to do is create a spin application that can store non-relational data. So it has to, the endpoint has to store a JSON object and then has to retrieve that. So as I mentioned before, what I will do is just go with a JavaScript application just because it's what I've been using the most and it's what I want to use for this. So let's do a spin add. So I have a spin.toml application already. So I have an app, and I'll just add another component to this. So I'm going to add a TypeScript component, enter the name, data API. Pick a template is for a different version of the Spin manifest. This is an excellent reminder that we shipped a new version of Spin that has some changes to the manifest. So what we need to do is go to the Spin.js SDK and update the templates. And presumably the is already installed. Okay, Spin template install JS SDK, and this should give me the right template. Spin add ETS. Data. Okay. I think this succeeded. This is the right template. Okay. Okay, let's go into the data API. Let's just do a quick npm install to install the dependencies and to bring in the Spin SDK and all other dependencies. And at this point, here's our handler function. Okay, let's see if that actually works. So let's do a Spin build in the right directory. And the spin up. Okay, so this works. Okay.
Could you maybe try running the test again, because it might be that the test file is still not testing for 3001.
The curl test.
Yeah, the curl test.
Well, I guess if I just...
Is that the right curl file you're using?
Maybe. Okay, test.curl. Now it's on 3001.
The other requests, yeah.
Yep, there are 3 of them. Let's solve it, and then we'll see whether... Okay. Okay, so we have our JavaScript or TypeScript component, and what it needs to do is handle a post request to /data, and it should use the advent key to store this JSON object. Okay, so what we know at this point is our component needs to access the key value store. So let's just do a key value stores for our component, and we'll just give it access to the default store. And that's about it, I think. So if you notice the TypeScript SDK, the default handler function is very, very helpful in trying to make sure that your types, your signature is correct. I really like TypeScript, but sometimes I try to be less verbose with my function signature. So I'm just going to rewrite that as async function handle request, takes a request, and it returns a promise of an HTTP response. And based on this, I think it would be easiest if we had, given that we have to handle a specific route and then different methods, to just create a router. I think that would be the easiest. Okay, and then we can do return router that handle request for our request. And I think we also need to, this is something that I think we have to do just because the router needs a special, it doesn't, the router we're using behind the scenes needs the request body to be passed specifically. So that's something hopefully we'll address really, really soon in the JavaScript SDK. But for now, I think you need to pass it as a separate object. So, and right now what we need is a /data on a post. So let's do a router post on /data. And then this is an anonymous function that runs the handler. It has the request, and then we pass the body. Okay. Let's see if this works. Let's try to status 201 body.
Any string will work. Yeah.
Yeah. Hello. Okay. Let's see if this actually compiles. So let's do a spin build. And let's do a spin up. By the way, a feature request and a good first issue is I really like how cargo build has an alias to cargo B. And I would really like to be able to do spin B and spin U. And so if anyone is interested in a very simple good first issue in the spin CLI, I would really like that. So curl, let's do localhost 3001/data post. Hello. Okay, this hasn't it actually worked so far, so it's not horribly broken, which is a good sign. Okay.
Did you create an issue for those two feature requests? Okay. It seems like a single line PR. To configure clap to actually take that as a short.
It is a single line PR.
alias.
Okay. By the way, if other people find this utterly ridiculous, feel free to not merge that PR, but I think it would be very helpful for me in particular. Okay. So it's using the key advent. So I don't think we actually need this one. So I'm just going to use a key here. So let's do that. Let key equals advent. Okay, so it tells us that it will contain a JSON object, which can look like this. Should I read too much into the spec-like wording around can, may, should not, must, or is this, it might look like this? How specific should I be around the word can here?
Where's the word can? Oh, it can look like this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah. I guess the reference is probably not to the object, but the value
Okay.
within the
Okay.
yeah.
I'm reading through this, my assumption is I don't really, all I have to do is store the request body as it is, not deserialize it. And so if I don't have to deserialize it, then I don't have to care about the structure itself. But if I do, then I have to create an interface and decode it and code it again. But it doesn't seem like I have to think about it for this challenge.
So the main thing is that you're able to persist whatever data is being posted until the next request, right? And I think that talks to the whole stateless way that Spin actually works and handle these requests. And I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit on that.
On the stateless nature of how Spin creates. Yeah. So the idea here being that on every single new request, Spin will execute it in a new WebAssembly instance, which means any state you might have had from the previous requests is no longer persisted, which means every single request is executed in a fresh, isolated sandbox. Okay. If we don't have to care about it, then let's create a reference to our store as KV. The Spin SDK, the open default, which opens a default key value store. And what we have to do is return 201 if it is successful, and then store it. Okay, store dot set. And we have the key, and we have the extra.body, maybe. And then it has to return a 201, and that's it, and nothing else. Okay. So, and then the second part of this is when you send the GET request, expect to see the item that was just posted. So the GET for the same endpoint, and I guess we don't need an async anonymous function for that. We don't need it here either. And we're actually not using a request, so okay. Request, and then we might not need anything else here. So the idea here is that I need a key and the store. And then what I can do is, and by the way, this is exactly what not to do when writing a real application, which is no error handling whatsoever. Any of these can actually throw an error, so ideally you would probably want to do a try catch at some point. But what is the saying? Make it correct, fast, like make it work, make it correct, make it fast. We're at the make it work phase of this. So let's do a status 200 and then body store.get. This is very hand wavy, should work, but still hand wavy. So okay, let's see.
So is the store just storing the bytes and returning? So the store is, in this case, when you just use the set function, right? It's actually the array buffer that is being stored,
Correct.
Which is also the one that is being returned, and it's also how you need to encode the body of the request, which is why, like, these are not actual strings. but they are array buffer representation of the string, so you don't have to do any kind of encoding, decoding all along the way.
That was my question earlier, right? Which is, if we don't have to read the body on the post request, and we don't have to actually modify it when read it from the store, ideally we would just skip the encoding and decoding and encoding again part, which might have a performance benefits for real applications. In this case, we could have done that easily, and we could do as a way, for example, to like debug. So if we after this works, we could try it out. And so in this case, because we're using array buffers, which are how HTTP request and response bodies are represented, and the store, the key value store, uses array buffers as the representation, it means that we can skip that encoding and decoding step. So,
but the only trade-off is you will never get to know what Matt actually wishes, because you have no way of knowing that from otherwise. I mean, unless you can read array buffers.
Correct. So after we get the Hurl test to pass, we can go back and create an interface and decode it and then log it and see if it actually works. I am really keen on seeing whether this actually works. So I'm going to spell out BUILD because there's no spin B alias for now. And then spin up. Okay, so it's a post request with a body, and then we expect the result back. So let's do this data. And I guess I'm writing this by hand. Value. Hi, this is a test. Ooh. Okay. Interesting. Invalid value type. Accepted types are string and array buffers. Huh. Ooh. I think this has to do with how I'm passing the body. I think this is where the there is thrown from. So it's
you could actually go and look at the exporter module to get the line 316. The exporter model will actually show you which part of your code that is.
Line 316. Yeah, it's store.set. But this one, it's clear that I'm not passing this correctly. So, okay, we're passing the request body. Let's try. I'm not convinced that this is going to work.
You should use Michelle's favorite command, which is, I don't know if it's actually spin build up, or I think it's spin build up, right? Spin build dash up.
Yep, nope. It's still empty. So what I'm going to do is, I wrote a spin application during one of the live streams, one of the previous live streams, that had a similar shape. And so I'm going to look at that API because I don't remember how to pass the body properly. So it's the request body. No, it is extra.body. Ooh. I am going to try something. And that something is oh, that was not it. Okay. So extra.body extra dot. Is it not the right request body? Ooh.
I remember having seen you doing something with body in there. It may or may not.
See, spin B would have spared me the typo in this one.
You can also just type error up a few times and you'll get there.
Okay. Dash VB. Okay, 201 created. This is where using loose types bit me. This one, I'm literally calling it the property is called body, but I was calling it extra before. So this stems from our SDK being slightly inflexible in how it accepts request bodies, or at least how I'm using it right now. So the second part of this is I should make a GET request to the same endpoint and get the value, which was, hi, this is a test. So, hi, this is a test. Okay, so Perl should work now. It doesn't, because we're not setting the header. So, status, headers.
I think that's the wrong one, right? It's in the,
Yes.
the get?
Yes, you're correct. Body, headers. I think it looks like this. Content type, application JSON. And I guess I'll just show the watch commands after I've done like spin, build, and spin up 9 times. So this one should be, it should watch everything in source that is a TypeScript file. And hopefully that's the right.
I think we realized last week in our live stream that this has actually been fixed in the templates that are not tagged to the current release. So when we do a new SDK release, this should come with the template.
Okay. I wanna make sure that that actually happens. So I'm going to save this file, and yep, it detects that it's been modified, and it's starting it again. And so Perl maybe. Good file success. Okay. Yay. Okay. So that was successful. What do we do? Do we submit it? Do we decode the body and log it so we see what the application does? What do we do?
So here's a little bit behind the scenes stuff.
Yes.
When we, by the way, Rado and I are in the same room. That's why we have a little bit of an audio thing, and we have various cameras. So if we look at each other, that's like to the side. That's because we do that. So what we actually did in the back end is that we used, you know what? Can you show that? I think you have access to the back end on GitHub even.
Do I want to?
Well, you can show. Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. Just piece. But we have in Spin and also in Fermyon Cloud where we host these things. We're hosting LLM models or large language model. We're hosting Meta's Llama models up there. So actually, we have the backend do an inferencing call here, where we prompt it to come up with 3 wishes for Matt Butcher, who's co-founder and CEO of Fermyon. So basically, what you will get back as Matt's wish list is something that the Llama model came up with.
Okay, now I want to decode it.
Yeah, you definitely want to decode it because it's not like totally bulletproof what comes out of that, but it's sometimes pretty funny.
Yeah, okay. So it's a value which is a string. Okay. Interface wishes, I guess. No, it's a single wish.
Oh, there are 3. There are 3 wishes.
Yes.
Oh, it's one.
But it's one, yeah. Okay. Wish. value. Okay, so what we want to do is,
I guess you only have to do that on the get, right? You can decode what comes out of the store, and depends on whether you want to.
is the backend the verifier of this calling post and get every time I submit?
Yes.
Okay, so it's safe to do that here. Okay, so let's do that way before we do anything. So let wish equals oh no, we have to, okay. Let wish equals, we need to do a store.get for our key. And then we need to, this one returns an array buffer or null. And so we need to do a decoder decode. So we can create a decoder. Text decoder. And so we can do decoder.decode of this. And once again, I'm going to be very, very lazy and do as wish. There are much better ways of doing this. And if you're using another programming language, it would have been strongly typed as well. As X is the escape hatch of TypeScript that I abuse every once in a while.
So I just want to call out, so Karthik, who's co-worker of us at Fermion, that there are actually methods at the KV interface where you can just get and set as JSON. So you don't have to do the actual encoding as you're getting and setting.
Ooh. Oh, it's, oh, I guess we don't really need the type, do we? We can treat it as any and just not have a type at all. This is
I think you're getting back to being double lazy here instead of just actually serializing both as set as get and then use the get and set JSON method. Yeah.
JSON parse. Okay, I'm going to do that as wish. Okay. Interface wish.
I like that we have a Karthik as a coach in the chat here.
Ooh, I'm not seeing the chat. Okay. And then what we can do is JSON.stringify and basically just convert it back to a string. Okay, let's see if that worked. Okay, our endpoint should be up. Curl, yep, value of spin. Okay. So last bit before submitting is AOS challenge 1. That's going to be the name of the app. Spin deploy. Okay, let's see. I haven't done a spin deploy in a really long time. So my cloud plugin, yep, is not up to date. So we can do a spin plugin update cloud. Nope. Okay.
I think it's upgrade cloud, but update to update the manifest.
Spin plugins update. And then spin plugins upgrade cloud. Yes. Okay. Let's try one more time. Spin deploy. If you had just installed Spin using the install scripts or Brew, none of that would have been a problem.
And you should not see an error message of you using a pre-release version of Spin like Rado is doing right here.
Yes.
So
I'm going to use the excuse that this is my travel computer, and the real computer that I use on a daily basis is not the one I used for this. Is that a reasonable excuse?
The real computer?
Yes. I considered SSHing into it and doing all of that there, but yeah. Okay, and then the last part here is we have a submit.hurl that we need to create here. Okay, submit.hurl. And then what we need here is
just the error format long in there it's just it's a courtesy because they'll actually give you I actually believe that the backend is gonna post back to you now what it posted as the wish. If you don't put the error format in there, you won't see it while running the Hurl script. You actually won't see the reply from the backend.
Error format long?
Yeah.
Okay. So this one should submit this entry. So, okay. Oh, I guess we could try to see if the endpoint is up. Yep. Make it snow. Excellent. Really, really proud of that. Okay. So at this point, okay. This means the backend for Advent of Spin sent the request with these three wishes, and this is the GET request, right?
This is the GET request. Yeah, this is the GET request. Well, you're doing a GET request against the backend. The backend is now talking to your application.
Okay.
And then the backend also ends up giving back to you what it actually posted and got from you. But what you could do is...
So if I do this, technically I should see... Yep.
You should see the same thing.
Yep, I see the same. Yep. Okay.
So what is Matt actually? What was the I didn't see
wishes.
The wishes. Yeah. That's fancy. That's next level. pretty painting the response. Okay, so Matt, it's the wish number one is a dog. I know Matt already has a dog, so I don't know if is the name Tiberius.
Yes, Tiberius.
Tiberius. I don't know if Tiberius would be jealous if Matt were to get a second dog, but yeah, Matt loves dog and would love to have one of his own. I guess that would be a well, LLM models are not necessarily up to date, but it might be a second dog. Oh, he also wants a new laptop. Matt's current laptop is getting a bit old and slow, so a new high-performance one would be amazing. I know for a fact that Matt actually started to travel without his laptop and only using an iPad Pro or something. I guess that's.
You're focusing on the wrong wish here. Wish number 3 is.
Oh, I was just trying to say. I guess that the traveling with an iPad Pro is probably a. I guess that's a function of Matt being a CEO now. What was the third wish? I missed the third wish. Could we?
Oh, the third wish is
a subscription to a philosophy or book club. Okay, so Matt is a former philosopher processor as well. So Matt is always looking for new perspectives and ideas, and a monthly delivery of thought-provoking books would be a perfect thing. That's a perfect wish list. I love that. That's really good.
So if we go to AOS Challenge 1 on Fermion Cloud, we can see the logs and everything else, like all three requests. Well, I guess we got 3 GET requests, right? 1 from the backend and 2 that we just tried out. So technically, we should see, a bunch of requests that just happened to our app. Yeah. Okay. I guess was there anything else to do on Challenge 1? Again, really happy with the choice of picture here.
Let's just keep that picture up, and then we can sort of wind down the live stream, like, you know, embracing and appreciating the "Make It Snow"
Yep.
meme. Yeah, no, cool. This is really good, Rado. I'm proud of you for solving the challenge.
I managed to solve the easiest challenge while stumbling a couple of times. So
I guess the learning from that one is don't try to make any of those shortcuts, because it's gonna end up like it's gonna come back and bite you if you try to do that. But yeah, cool. Thank you so much. I mean, again, let me see if I can find the right banner here. We have these Advent of Spin challenges that are going on right now. So Rado was just solving challenge number 1 that we revealed last week. You can still, if you're going to solve the challenge, like, I know it's kind of cheating now because Rado sort of solved it for you, but we could challenge you to pick one of the other programming languages where you could do this, which would be Rust, Python, and where else do we have KV support? You would either need the key value to store these things. You could also call out to an external database.
Yep.
I guess you could get away with that in C#.
Yep.
As well. So feel free to go ahead and do that. If you go and submit these challenges, make sure to fill in the type form. There's a small form in the root of our repo, and if you do that, we will send you some of the prizes. For challenge 1, that will be a denim tote bag, and there are great challenges for these, great prizes as well for these other challenges. So with that, I think, do we want to go on a single screen, right? There we are, both of us. We're actually here together in Frankfurt.
So many chat comments.
Oh yeah, you should. Yeah, it's hard with all the chat comments as you go. Well, someone is praising you. You did awesome.
I'll
That's
stop
nice.
on someone complimenting my Vim setup, and that's the.
I guess the side challenge here could, you know, if you can go and find Rado's dot file repo, you can go and start to distill his setup there if you want to. But anyways, thanks everyone for watching in. We will be back a week from now with challenge number 3 of this year's Advent of Spin, and it may be so that I'll find someone in the company who we want to see solve challenge number 2, the one that we just revealed today. So let's see how that goes.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and hope to see you next week.
Bye.